Hey guys, it's Simmy, and this is Wrestling Unlimited, as it's Saturday, and we're talking AEW Collision. Tonight was the debut of AEW Collision, and I thought it was a good show. I was entertained throughout the entire thing, and thought it flowed very well. A lot of things worked really good. That CM Punk stuff at the front of the show that we'll talk about had me a little confused, but let me move the camera over just a smidge. But regardless, I thought this was a good episode of Collision, but I got to get a couple things out of the way. Now, we're not going to be reviewing every episode of Collision because there's a lot of times on Saturday nights, my other job takes me away. I'm a photographer, and there's a lot of times on Saturdays is when I do photo shoots. So I'm just going to say it right now. There may be more days than not where there's no Collision review. Now, if there's like a big title match or something, or just a huge match set for a Collision, I'll make sure to review that show. I'll make sure to put that and be like, hey, can we do the photo shoot Sunday or something? But I just wanted to get that out of the way. Also, I'm going to block this person, or time him out at least. Because you're spamming the chat. Let's put this person in timeout. If they do it again, they will be blocked. But regardless, what's the word I'm looking for? So I can't think right now. I'm getting text messages because I'm supposed to be at a photo shoot tonight, which I'm going to try and do tonight, if not push it to tomorrow night. But like the model stuff is like sending me stuff that they want to do. But regardless, there's going to be more times than not, there's not going to be a Collision review. And if that happens, then I'll maybe try to do it on a Sunday, or we'll just do it during the Monday wrestling wrap-up. Also, if there is a WWE pay-per-view like SummerSlam or Payback on the same night as a Collision, the WWE pay-per-view, premium live event, whatever, will take precedence. So that will also mean that the Collision review gets pushed or whatever. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, so good episode of Collision. But remember how the first couple episodes of Rampage were pretty good? And noteworthy and watchable, like as far as, oh yeah, that was entertaining, I'm going to watch that again next week. And then it fell off. We got to give this a month. We got to give us 3-4 weeks before we could say if, it's going to be watchable, or, excuse me, if it's going to be must see every week like Dynamite is. Because Rampage started off as like, oh, okay, they're taking this show serious. And then eventually Rampage just became Dark Elevation. So hopefully that doesn't happen with Collision. Hopefully we get a lot of storyline stuff. We got some storyline stuff tonight, but not a lot. Granted, this was the first episode, so you want to just load it up with stuff. But hopefully it doesn't just become a bunch of matches like Rampage did. That's my worry. So we'll see where it goes. We'll give it a couple of weeks, and then we'll see. But with that, I want to say thank you guys for joining me here. Twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, YouTube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, if you are watching live on Twitch, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can either help us out by hitting that donate button down below, or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you can subscribe with Amazon Prime, because remember, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and they always give you one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you did right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Also, remember, head over to YouTube, hit that join button, and become a channel member. It's another great way for you guys to support the channel. And finally, head over to the Epic Game Store. Head over to the Epic Game Store and buy something, pre-order something, claim something, do something over there. Whether you're pre-ordering Payday 3, getting Star Wars Jedi Survivor, claiming the free games, Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2, or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, and Fall Guys? Well, use this code right here, PW Unlimited at checkout, and you will be supporting us at no extra cost. Again, use code PWU NLIMITED at checkout, and you will be supporting us at no extra cost. As far as Collision does go, and I'm going to have to get used to saying Collision, because there's a couple times when I'm tweeting tonight during the show, and I'm like, hashtag AEWDY. Nope, this ain't Dynamite. CO. So I'm like, gotta get used to this. Is Collision, not Dynamite. So they open up the show. Elton John's Saturday Night's All Right for a Fight plays. Doesn't really fit the vibe of the video, the opening video. I would say that it seems like they half-ass edited the video and cuts to the music, not fully. As a video editor myself, it irked me a little because it just wasn't great. And then most of the show was commentated by Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness. They did eventually bring in Jim Ross for the main event. But the show opens, and of course it's Chicago, and they're chanting, CM Punk, CM Punk. So out comes CM Punk opens up the show. CM Punk walks down to the ring with a red bag and wrestling boots, or shoes, whatever you want to call them, around his neck. And I'm like, okay. And Punk just lays it all in. I don't know if this motherfucker was shooting or if he was storyline-wise trying to angle for a feud, but he was running down the Young Bucks, the Elite, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, whatever. I mean, he at one point said he said counterfeit Bucks. He said, he's literally, one of the first lines he said was, "This is a business of grown men." Remember, he called the Elite children. The Punk comes down and says he's tried to be nice. And he said that in his ESPN interview. He tried to reach out to talk to them and see if they all could be on the same page or at least on working terms, and got the "don't contact these guys again" response. He said that he was on the shelf for 10 months with a ruptured tricep off the bone. Punk talked about how, as long as he was here, this would be the professional wrestling business, not a popularity contest. He said if you told a young Punk that he would sell out buildings all over the world, young Punk wouldn't believe you. But he has. And he's gotten here riding the backs of smart and passionate pro wrestling fans. He loves the people because they love him in this world of grown men. He said they love him because he's always unapologetic and always himself. But there are some people who hate him for that. Punk knows his presence makes people uncomfortable because he is the truth, and the truth is sometimes painful. We then get "fuck the Elite, fuck the Elite, fuck the Elite" chants. He says that people can love him or hate him. And he reads all these different signs. A couple of them were pro CM Punk signs, and there was one not pro, like anti CM Punk sign, and he embraced it all. He said that people call him whatever they want, but David Zaslav, the Warner Brothers Discovery executive, calls him One Bill Phil because he's the one true he's the one true article in a business full of counterfeit bucks. And I'm like, oh, well, that line ain't going to piss people off. And the Bucks did respond to that line on Twitter as they tweeted out the following. Well, actually, they didn't tweet out the following. The Bucks don't tweet. They changed their Twitter bio. It now says, if it were 2018, we'd already have counterfeit Buck shirts on PWT. Kill it, y'all. I'm going to go on to say that he will never compromise and that he'll always be himself. There are people who think they're owed an apology, and he apologizes. He's sorry that they're softer than the wrestlers they like. Punk grabs the bag, says the last time he was in this ring, he had what is in this bag and raised it high above his head. He said, and it belongs to him until somebody can pin or submit him and take it from him. He grabs the boots around his neck and says, I bet a lot of you thought I was going to come down here and lay these down in the ring and just walk off into the sunset. Hang it all up? That ain't going to happen. Until someone can fill these boots that I walk in, they belong on my feet. Punk then leaves with the boots and the bag, looks in the camera, and says, what's in the bag, Max? saying basically that his AEW World title is in this bag. He then walks up the ramp, and Kevin Kelly lets us know we'll see CM Punk again later when he's in the Trios main event. And then he looks right into the camera and says, I didn't come here to chase stars. I am a star. And then finally Punk leaves. So Punk out here ruffling feathers right at the get-go, right at the beginning of this show, like off the bat. And I don't know if this guy is shooting off the hip, just getting it all out there, just saying what he wants to say, or if this is a storyline and he cleared all this with Tony Khan and whoever else needed to have it cleared with them beforehand. But regardless, woo, buddy, very interesting. We then get a video package hyping up the TNT title match, which was next. It was Wardlow defending the TNT Championship against Luchasaurus. And this was an okay match. I mean, it wasn't the best of matches, but it was a good match. And we got a title change out of it, thanks to Christian Cage and the camera. So Kevin Kelly noted that this was Luchasaurus' first shot at the TNT title. After a lockup, Wardlow sent Luchasaurus out of the ring with a drop kick. Wardlow then followed this up on the floor and battered, punched and stuff, on Luchasaurus before chasing Christian around the ring. Christian escaped under the ring, but crawled out to grab Wardlow's leg on the apron, which allowed Luchasaurus to take control. Referee kind of gave him a little warning, like, hey, don't get involved. Luchasaurus then clubbed Wardlow before laying him out with a boot before we went to a commercial break. We came back to Wardlow lifting Luchasaurus into electric chair position, but before dropping him. Wardlow fired up, muscling Luchasaurus into the corner and hitting shoulder blocks. Wardlow hit a main event spinebuster before heading to the top rope. Christian distracted him again, allowing Luchasaurus to chokeslam him for a close near fall. Luchasaurus then set up another chokeslam, but Wardlow bit his thumb. Kind of a la Arn Anderson. They traded strikes before Wardlow dropped Luchasaurus with a lariat. Wardlow loaded up for a powerbomb, and despite Christian's attempt to distract him, he hit one. Christian grabbed a chair to distract Wardlow, allowing Luchasaurus to rip off a chokeslam for another near fall. Wardlow reversed a power slam into one of his own before hitting a swanton off the top rope. Wardlow then pulled the straps down, but Christian distracted him yet again. Wardlow hit the 10 punches in the corner, well, maybe like 4 of them, before Luchasaurus did escape and distracted the referee. Christian then grabbed a camera from a ringside photographer and broke it right over the head of Wardlow. This allowed Luchasaurus to hit him with a huge lariat to the back of the head and pin him to become the brand new TNT champion. Christian immediately grabbed the belt and celebrated with the belt. Luchasaurus then put Christian up on his shoulders, and there we go. Christian celebrated like he just won the title, not Luchasaurus. But Luchasaurus is the new TNT champion, and I wouldn't have had on my bucket list Luchasaurus wins a singles belt before Jungle Boy. I wouldn't have thought that was going to be a statement I would make. Luchasaurus won a singles belt before Jungle Boy. Backstage, they sent it to Lexi Nair with Powerhouse Hobbs and QT Marshall. She asked about all the teases of, is Powerhouse Hobbs going to wrestle on Collision or not? And Marshall goes, hey, we never said that. We just said Hobbs would be here. We're here for one reason. Hobbs is declaring that he will be in and win the Owen Hart tournament. Hobbs said this is a new chapter of the Book of Hobbs as he is out for redemption. We then had Buddy Murphy versus Andrade Edidolo. Because Dasha don't know his name, and Kevin Kelly don't know his name. So we're doing the intros, and Dasha says, making his way to the ring, representing the House of Black, Buddy Murphy. And this is his old WWE name. Then you got Kevin Kelly out here going, so it's Buddy Matthews taking on Andre El Idolo. And no one came over the headset to correct Kevin Kelly. And if they did, he wasn't listening. Because he said multiple times, Andrade El Idolo, or Idolo, I can't even say it wrong. Like, he said it wrong multiple times. Andrade El Idolo, or Andrade El Idolo. Like, couldn't say El Idolo. You would have thought someone would have came over the headset and said, hey, Kevin, it's El Idolo. Like, hooked on phonics. El Idolo. But regardless, Match was weird. I thought for what they were trying to do, they did a really good job. But it was weird because they played off of both men's recent injuries. And then towards like the second half, 3/4 mark, they just played like two guys that were hurt. But they did it in a good way. I liked it. Crowd gave Andrade huge welcome back chance, as we haven't seen him since All Out 2022, where he tore his pec. After a little bit of a stalemate, Andrade caught himself in the ropes and baited Matthews to the floor. After scolding Hart for getting too close to his mask, Andrade cartwheeled into a moonsault off the apron. Matthews sent Andrade into the ring post and into the timekeeper's area, but Andrade hopped on the barricade and hit a Hurricane Rana into the barricade. Back in the ring, Andrade and Matthews battled near the turnbuckle, where Matthews hooked Andrade's arm and pulled him into the post. He sent Andrade into the barricade before pulling him into the ring and hitting a Meteora for a near fall. They got a picture-in-picture break. Both men were being checked on by ringside doctors. Andrade was checking his arm, while Matthews had issues with his knee. And I like at one point, Andrade is so hurt, he's like gripping his arm like this, kind of. And he literally asked the kid in the front row, help me up. And like the kid helped pull him up. I thought that was great. I loved that. So playing to the injuries, I thought was really, really, really good. It was different and weird. But then when you look at the match, because while I'm watching the match, I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. But then after you see the match as a whole, you get and understand what they were doing and realize, oh, whoa, for what they were trying to do, no, this was great. So after the break, Andrade was kind of like writhing in pain. Referee went to check on him. Andrade did get back in the ring before the 10 count, where he was met with some boots from Matthews. Andrade came back with the dragon screw leg whip before hitting his double jump moonsault for a near fall. Matthews fought out of Andrade's hammerlock DDT before catching him with a DDT in the ropes. Andrade then followed Matthews to the top, where Matthews tried a sunset flip powerbomb. His knee gave away, but he was able to hook Andrade's head and hit some super kicks. Matthews crumbled on a powerbomb attempt, allowing Andrade to drill him with a running back elbow, which this was kind of weird too, where like it looked like he was going for like a ripcord clothesline or something, and then he like tripped up, so he spun and hit the elbow before crashing down. Andrade went for knees in the corner, but Matthews popped up and hit a knee of his own for a near fall. Matthews tried locking on a reverse sharpshooter, kind of Rhea Ripley's move, but Andrade got out of it and locked on a figure four, Ric Flair's move, or Charlotte Flair's move, whatever you want to say. So they played into their significant others' submissions. I liked that as well. Eventually, Matthews did submit, and Andrade picked up the victory. I liked this match. Like, once the match ended, and I saw what the match was as a whole, I actually really enjoyed this. In the moment, I was kind of like, oh, they're doing a lot of, we're sitting and we're waiting and we're hurt and this. And in the moment, I was kind of like, I don't know. But again, I got to praise this for what it was, because it wasn't just, we're going to go out there and have the greatest match ever. It was, we're going to go out there and tell a story of two guys who just came back from injury and are going to say we're 100%, but maybe we're not, and play off those injuries. And I believe they basically are. But I liked it. I really liked it. Andrade then offered a handshake. The lights then went out. The lights then come back on, and the House of Black are behind him. Brody King then laid him out with a huge ass lariat, and the House of Black stood tall. They got a Scorpio Sky video package highlighting his career in AEW, noting he will be back soon. I totally forgot about Scorpio Sky. Like, I don't even remember the last time we saw Scorpio Sky. I'm going to look up his cage match and see when his last match was. Because July 6th, 2022, he lost the TNT title to Wardlow. That was the last time we saw Scorpio Sky in a match. Almost a year ago. The Tony Nese is in the ring. Sick of seeing the cellulite spill over everybody's chairs, he then led the United Center in group exercises before Miro would come out. These kind of segments, I'm not a big fan of. When you say, so-and-so is going to have a match, and then you make it seem spontaneous, like he just came out randomly. No. So if, I don't. AEW does this often, and I don't like it. They're like, we're going to hear from so-and-so. We're going to see so-and-so. Okay. but then you make it seem like Tony Nese coming out was spontaneous and not something planned ahead of time. So then, if we're supposed to think this is real, what was Wardlow or Miro's original opponent? You know what I mean? And just, these kind of things don't work for me. But then the match itself wasn't bad. There was a showcase for Miro, of course. There were a little bit of technical difficulties, so I did miss parts of the match, but it wasn't long. I saw at one point Miro hit a big side kick on Nese before calling for the game over. He locked it on, breaking Nese's back and making him humble. Nese quickly submitted as the crowd cheered for Miro. So I don't think the match went long, and the technical difficulties didn't last long, but yeah, this was a short squash, just saying Miro's back and Miro's going to whip some ass. We then had Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale taking on the Outcast, Ruby Soho and Toni Storm. Match was all right. Not great, but it was all right. The Outcast got the jump start on their opponents, sending them to the floor early. They got in the face of Sky Blue's mama, who was at ringside, who slapped them both. That allowed Willow to pounce Soho into the barricade. Great looking pounce, like a Keith Lee looking pounce, like a Monty Brown looking pounce. And this was really good. This then led to Blue jumping off the apron with a Hurricane Rana on Storm. Back in the ring, Storm cut Nightingale off with a shot to the back, allowing Soho to take control as we went to picture-in-picture. Back from the commercial break, Nightingale clotheslined Soho before making the tag to the hometown girl Sky Blue. Blue fired up on the champion, hitting the rising knee and a low kick. Blue hit a diving crossbody for a near fall that Soho broke up. The match then broke down in a Pier 4 brawl before Storm locked on a cloverleaf submission and she beat Sky Blue with on Dynamite. Blue then crawled all the way across the ring and made it to the ropes. Blue escaped the Storm Zero attempt before tagging in Nightingale, who laid out Storm. Soho laid out Nightingale with a destination unknown before Blue tagged herself in. Storm hit the hip attack on Blue in the corner, and the Outcast went to spray paint Blue, but Willow grabbed Storm and sent the paint into Soho. Blue then hit the code Blue on Soho and pinned her to pick up the victory. So there we go. Fine match. Fun at times. Nothing great or anything, but it was there. It was cool. It was whatever. We had a pre-tape video of Ricky Starks basically saying that he will be entering into the Owen Hart tournament. You know, the tournament will be absolute for him to win. Then I got another video. It was Jeff Jarrett basically saying that he will be bringing back the concession stand brawl as he will be taking on Mark Briscoe this week on Dynamite, or next week technically. He said that his family have been promoting wrestling for 46 years to the day. And they at one point had the Tupelo concessions stand brawl, and he's bringing that back. But it's going to be one-on-one. It's just going to be him. It's just going to be Mark. He said no Karen, no Sanjay, only Jeff kicking Mark's ass. We then got the Acclaimed, and this was just the Acclaimed. There's nothing special here at all. In Caster's rap, he wanted us to wish Daddy Ass a happy Father's Day. Billy Gunn noted that while he's not been in the game much lately, the trios titles are still something they want to go for. Bowens noted that AEW now stands for two things: acclaimed every Wednesday and acclaimed every weekend. They then wanted to scissor in the scissor capital of Chicago on the first episode of AEW Dynamite. That was it. That was it. Nothing special at all. Kind of a waste of space segment, if I'm going to be completely honest. Kevin Kelly then ran down everything for the card this coming Wednesday in Chicago. He did not do an Excalibur, but he did tell us Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki will reform their team from last week's Forbidden Door as they take on the Ring of Honor team of AR Fox, Action Andretti, and Darius Martin. Chris Statlander will defend the TBS Championship against Taya Valkyrie. Orange Cassidy and Katsuyori Shibata will team up against the team of Daniel Garcia and Zack Sabre Jr. and the Guns. Will be taking on the Hardys. Plus, of course, as we already learned earlier, Mark Briscoe versus Jeff Jarrett in a concession stand brawl. Also, it was announced we'll be getting a blind eliminator tournament where the winning team of this blind eliminator tournament becomes the next number one contenders for the AEW World Tag Team titles. So, I don't know what this means. We're getting a tournament where we're not going to know the brackets ahead of time, I guess. Like, they really didn't give any details, and if they did, I wasn't listening then. Because what all the graphics says is, I'm gonna read it here. graphic for this says, blind eliminator tournament for an AEW World Tag Team title shot. Don't know what that really means. I guess we're going to get a tournament, but there's not going to be brackets, and you're not going to know who's in the tournament, or at least in the first round. So you're not going to know who your opponent is going into it. I don't know. This sounds stupid. Why not just give us brackets if you're going to do an actual tournament? I don't know. It just sounds like one of those dumb AEW things. Then we had our main event. CM Punk and FTR against Samoa Joe and Bullet Club Gold. And this match was really good, but it probably, in my opinion, came off great because of this crowd. This was a great crowd for this main event. Also, Jim Ross was on the commentary with like a super sore, hoarse voice, so it didn't really do me any favors. But I will say, Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness, really, really good together throughout this entire show. I like that pairing. I've always thought that Kevin Kelly was one of the best out there today, and I've always really, really enjoyed Nigel as well. It was kind of funny. Nigel kept a couple times, as a former competitor myself, I can speak on this, and da-da-da-da. I thought that was funny. He did that a few times. I don't know if he's ever done that in the past, like when he was announcing in WWE, but let's see. White and Hardwood started off the match with White taking control with some heavy chops. Hardwood answered back with chops of his own before hitting a big back body drop. Hardwood ran White ragged before going for a sharpshooter, but White rolled out of harm's way and tagged in Robinson. Juice cut off FTR's double team attempt before Wheeler ran wild with some drop kicks. Wheeler sent Robinson up and over with a gorilla press slam. Punk then tagged in for the first time, helping set up a top rope power slam from Wheeler for a near fall. Punk bailed out of a go to sleep before Samoa Joe tagged himself in. There's a stare down between Joe and Punk, who they have a historic rivalry in Ring of Honor. If you've never seen the CM Punk Samoa Joe stuff, go back and watch it. It's fantastic. Joe got the first strike in with some heavy chops before Punk slowed things down with a headlock as he went for it during the picture break. Back from the break, Robinson knocked Harwood down with a left hand, with the left hand of God. Joe's team then clubbed away at Harwood before Harwood caught Robinson with a German suplex. Wheeler then tagged in and ran wild on Juice, finishing with a catch power slam for a near fall. Punk tagged in and hit an assisted elbow drop on Robinson before tagging back out as we go to another picture-in-picture break. Like, this match, I want to say, went near 20 minutes. Wheeler reached the ropes on a White single-leg crab as we came back to the full screen from the break. Joe's team battered Wheeler before Punk broke up a cover attempt from Joe. Wheeler and White traded some chops before White went low and hit a chop block. Wheeler hit a backdrop on Robinson, and despite White's best efforts, Punk made the hot tag and ran wild on the Bullet Club team. Punk hit both White and Robinson with rising knee lifts and taking them both out with a Bulldog clothesline combination. White clawed at Punk's eyes to get out of a go-to-sleep attempt, but Punk hit a high kick in response before going to the top rope. But Robinson swept Punk's legs out from under him. White hit a Uranagi and a near fall. White then set up for a Blade Runner, but Punk hit a Pepsi Twist to escape. FTR then tagged in and hit a powerplex before Punk hit a diving elbow. Robinson then broke up the cover, allowing White to tag out to Joe. Joe and Punk then traded strikes before White blindsided Punk. The match then broke down into a Pier 6 brawl before Punk and Joe were back in the ring alone yet again. Punk hit a rising knee, but Joe slipped out of a go-to-sleep attempt and locked on the Coquina clutch, almost making it look as if Punk was going to tap out. Bullet Club tried to hold back FTR and block them from breaking up the hold, but Harwood was able to break the submission. Robinson would then tag in, but Punk would hit a high kick. FTR then hit the Shatter Machine, leading to Punk hitting a go-to-sleep on Juice and pinning him to pick up the victory as the show goes off the air with CM Punk and FTR celebrating in victory. So there we go. Babyface team picks up the win. Juice takes the pin, and we're all good. A great finish to a really good debut episode of Collision, and I just hope they keep this up. It looked like they were going to with Rampage, and we saw where that show ended. So, I don't know. And no other teases of Punk's bag and his title in his bag. Because Punk basically teased at the start of the show, I'm the real world champion. He's like, until anyone comes after and pins me and takes this from me, this is mine, and I'm the real one, or something like that. So, a couple interesting things here. Punk saying that he's the real world champion, kind of calling out MJF. And yeah, we'll see where that all leads to. If MJF eventually shows up on Collision, if Punk maybe shows up on Dynamite, but we know there are a number of people not at Collision tonight, like Adam Cole. Adam Cole was at home on Twitch streaming Liza P, so he wasn't there. And there was a bunch of other guys not there as well. But yeah, a really good episode, a really good debut for Collision. It's just we got soured on Rampage when they just kind of turned that into a nothing show, and I just so hope that that doesn't happen with Collision. Now you know what I thought of the show. I really liked it. Now it's time to hear what you guys thought of tonight's show. As far as the polls do go, let's refresh all of those. Refresh. As far as the Twitch poll does go, 100% liked the show. Good to see. As far as the Twitter poll does go, Twitter. Wait for it to refresh. 76% liked the show. 16% didn't. And 6% thought it was just all right. As far as the YouTube community poll does go, 68% liked the show. 20% thought it was just all right. And 12% did not like it. Looking over at the comments here, this person said, loved it. Loved the fact that Buddy and Andrade had a showcase match. Person says, I liked Collision and I can't wait for next week. This person says, yeah, no, I'm not going to read that. It's just them trying to shit on AEW for no apparent reason. Person says, good debut, 7 out of 10. This person who always comments bad about AEW, not going to read their comment. And then another, I didn't watch. Like, if you didn't watch, then don't freaking comment. As far as the YouTube live poll does go, 72% liked the show, 22% thought it was just all right, and 6% did not like it. With that, guys, that's going to wrap everything up here. I want to say thank you for joining me here as we talked about the debut edition of AEW Collision. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your evening. Have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day tomorrow for all you fathers out there. And we'll see you guys Monday for the Wrestling Wrap-Up and Monday Night Raw. Have a good one, guys.